There is a truth that most people do not want to hear. The person who hurt you the most may also be the person who helped you grow the most. Strange, isn't it? When someone betrays you, abandons you, lies to you, or breaks your heart, gratitude is usually the last thing you feel. What comes first is pain. Disappointment, confusion, sleepless nights, silent tears. Endless questions with no clear answers. Why did they do this to me? What did I do wrong? How could the person I trusted the most become the person who hurt me the most? Many people spend years searching for answers to those questions. But the Buddha looked at suffering in a very different way. He taught that pain is not always a punishment. Sometimes pain is a teacher. A very strict teacher. A teacher we never ask for. Yet often the one who changes us the most. Think about it. If you had never been betrayed, would you have learned to see people with wisdom instead of blind trust? If you had never been rejected, would you have discovered your true worth? If you had never been abandoned, would you have learned how to stand on your own feet? If life had always been easy, would you be the person you are today? Probably not. An old story tells of a man who came to the Buddha carrying a heavy heart. He said, "Master, my closest friend betrayed me. I cannot forgive him. I think about it every day. I hate him." The Buddha looked at him quietly and asked, "If you were holding a burning coal with the intention of throwing it at someone else, who would be burned first?" The man replied, "I would." The Buddha smiled and said, "Then you already have your answer." That is the strange thing about resentment. We think we are punishing someone else. But most of the time, we are punishing ourselves. The person who hurt you may have moved on long ago. They may be living their life without thinking about what happened. They may not even remember the moment that changed your life. Yet you continue carrying the wound every single day. It is like carrying a backpack filled with stones and wondering why you feel exhausted. The Buddha never taught us to deny our pain. He never said betrayal does not hurt. He never said heartbreak is easy. He simply taught us not to build a permanent home inside our suffering. Because everything in life is impermanent. Joy comes and goes. Pain comes and goes. People come and go. Relationships come and go. Even the deepest wounds cannot remain forever if we stop feeding them. What keeps suffering alive is not always what happened. It is often the story we continue telling ourselves about what happened. We replay the memories. We analyze every detail. We imagine conversations that never took place. We relive the same pain again and again. And then we call it the past. But it is not really the past. We are carrying it into the present. A wise person does not erase the memory. A wise person simply refuses to live inside it. One day you may look back on the hardest season of your life and discover something surprising. The very thing that almost broke you became the thing that strengthened you. The disappointment taught you discernment. The loss taught you gratitude. The loneliness taught you self-reliance. The heartbreak taught you compassion. And the person who hurt you may have unknowingly pushed you closer to awakening. Not because what they did was right, but because you chose to learn from it. A lotus flower does not grow from clean marble. It grows from mud. In the same way, wisdom rarely grows from comfort. It grows from the challenges we survive. Some people enter your life to love you. Some people enter your life to teach you. And sometimes the greatest lessons come from the deepest wounds. But there is something else many people never realize. The person who hurt us is not always the biggest problem. Sometimes our reaction to the pain becomes the real source of suffering. The Buddha spoke of 2 arrows. The first arrow is what happens to us. The betrayal, the rejection, the loss, the disappointment. The second arrow is what we do to ourselves afterward. The resentment, the bitterness, the self-pity, the endless replaying of the wound. According to the Buddha, the first arrow may be unavoidable. The second arrow is often a choice. That is why two people can experience the same heartbreak and emerge completely different. One becomes bitter. The other becomes wiser. One closes their heart. The other develops compassion. One remains trapped in the past. The other grows beyond it. The difference is not the event. The difference is the lesson. A disciple once asked the Buddha, "How can I forgive someone who hurt me deeply?" The Buddha replied, "Forgiveness is not something you give because they deserve it. Forgiveness is something you give because you deserve peace." Many people misunderstand forgiveness. Forgiveness does not mean what happened was acceptable. It does not mean you allow someone to continue hurting you. It does not mean you forget. It simply means you stop carrying the weight. Imagine holding a heavy stone every day. Eventually, you realize the stone is not attached to you. You are attached to it. And the moment you put it down, you become free. Many people spend years waiting for an apology. They believe healing will begin when the other person finally admits they were wrong. But life does not always work that way. Some people will never apologize. Some people will never understand the damage they caused. Some people will never change. If your peace depends on someone else's transformation, you will remain a prisoner forever. Freedom begins when you stop waiting. Stop waiting for closure. Stop waiting for justice. Stop waiting for acknowledgement. Stop waiting for someone else to heal what only you can heal. Because in the end, the person who frees you from suffering will be you. As the years pass, you begin to notice something strange. The people who made you happy often leave behind beautiful memories. But the people who hurt you often leave behind profound lessons. The one who betrayed you may have taught you boundaries. The one who abandoned you may have taught you self-love. The one who underestimated you may have revealed your inner strength. The one who rejected you may have redirected your life towards something greater. Of course, when you are standing in the middle of the storm, it is difficult to see any meaning in the pain. When your heart is breaking, wisdom feels very far away. But time carries a gift. Time allows us to see what suffering was trying to teach us. Perhaps right now you are carrying a wound, a broken relationship, a painful betrayal, a lost dream, an unanswered injustice. And maybe you are still asking, why did this happen to me? One day the question may change. Instead of asking, why did this happen? You may begin asking, what is this teaching me? That is the beginning of transformation. That is the moment a victim becomes a student. That is the moment suffering begins turning into wisdom. The Buddha never promised a life without pain. He never promised that people would always be kind. He never promised that your heart would never break. What he offered was something far more valuable. He taught that while you cannot always control what happens to you, you can always choose how you respond. And hidden within that response is your future. Respond with resentment, and the wound deepens. Respond with understanding, and the wound teaches. Respond with awareness, and the wound transforms. That is the path of wisdom. That is the path of awakening. In the end, remember this. Some people enter your life to stay. Some enter your life to leave. And some enter your life simply to awaken something within you. The person who hurt you may not be the final chapter of your story. They may only be a page. A painful page. A page that made you cry. A page that kept you awake at night. A page you wish had never been written. But still only a page. Do not allow one painful chapter to become your entire story. Do not allow one person who left to take your future with them. Do not allow an old wound to stop you from embracing the beauty that still lies ahead. The Buddha taught that everything changes. Pain changes. People change. Circumstances change. Even a broken heart changes. And that is where hope lies. Because if everything is impermanent, then your suffering is impermanent too. If the darkest night eventually gives way to morning, then your pain will also pass. One day you will wake up and realize that the person who once controlled your emotions no longer has that power. You will remember them without anger. You will remember them without bitterness. You will remember them as a lesson that has already fulfilled its purpose. And in that moment, you will understand. The person who hurt you the most may indeed have been one of your greatest teachers. Not because they were right, not because they were good, but because through them, life taught you what comfort never could. Strength, compassion, patience, wisdom, the courage to begin again, the ability to find light in darkness, and most importantly, the path back to yourself. Because after all, the purpose of suffering is not to keep you trapped in darkness. Its purpose is to guide you toward the light waiting on the other side. Sometimes the wound is not the end of the story. Sometimes the wound is simply the doorway through which wisdom enters the soul.